So you were today in Dundee, and we're having a big Yes event here today, and there was a big talk last night. Now, for those of you who already know, you are the Chief Executive of Yes Scotland, and I've been very busy relentlessly over the last 3 years. But they probably don't know who Blair the man is. And I'm about to learn as well, because I'm going to ask you a few questions, and it'd be interesting to find out.
Right.
Like, I just found out, for example, you're from Elgin,
Yeah.
which we visited 2 weeks ago, and it's a very thriving Yes community up there. So, Blair, what's your journey, and tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to this step. That's going to take you a few minutes, but yeah, I'd like to know.
Aye, well, as you say, I mean, I come from Elgin, and I was born and brought up in Elgin, and then I left school at 16 and went into journalism in the local paper in Aberdeen, the Evening Express. And all of my career until I got involved in this campaign was in broadcasting and journalism. So I started out in newspapers, and then after a while in newspapers, I decided I needed to get a bit smarter. So I went off and did a degree at Edinburgh University in English, and then joined the BBC in London off the back of the degree. And I was there for 3 or 4 years, and then moved back to Glasgow in the 80s. And all my career from that point on has been in broadcasting and journalism. So I lived and worked in parts of England, in Newcastle, in Manchester, in London. But I've been in Glasgow now for more than 30 years. My kids were all born in Glasgow, so that's home now.
Okay, great. So you're a family man as well. Another question, really, you're leading the Yes campaign. How did you were you always involved in politics, or was it something that came to you more recently in life? And how did you come to the position, before you took this job, let's say, how did you get to this position where you're in?
Well, I'm a long-time supporter of Scottish independence, but I've never ever been involved in party politics or been in a party or anything like that. And I'll be honest, like a lot of folk of my age, I never really expected in my lifetime that we would get a vote on Scottish independence. So it always seemed like a slightly theoretical position to hold, you know, because you're never actually going to get a chance to vote on it. When I knew that there was going to be an independence referendum, it immediately became a question for me, an issue for me, whether or not I would get involved in the campaign. And I happened to be talking to somebody in the SNP that I knew, who said that they were about to set up the Yes campaign, and it was going to be a genuinely all parties, no parties campaign for the Yes vote. And I said, well, okay, well, if that's the kind of campaign it's going to be, because I'm not in the party, but if it's going to be a big umbrella campaign, you know, a big tent campaign, then I would speak in support of it. So I was then asked a wee while later if I would speak at the launch, which was in Edinburgh in May 2012.
Yes.
And I spoke at the launch, and it was just a short little speech about why I was voting yes. And after that, a few people said to me, you'd be somebody who would be good to be involved in the campaign. And then conversations started, and one thing led to another, and here I am. And it's a fantastic pleasure and privilege to be doing this. I mean, I'd have taken any role in the Yes campaign that was offered to me. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, whatever was needed I would have done. But to be doing this particular job at this time is just an incredible experience. It's fantastic.
And did you expect it to become a truly grassroots movement, which it has?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we knew a few things from the start. We knew that the way we would win is by creating the grassroots movement. We knew it had to become a national movement for independence. And the first thing we did almost was to try and set up that network of local groups right around Scotland. That was job number one. We knew the other thing that was crucially important was to get across that this was a genuinely broad campaign, that we were going to be welcoming everybody in. So right from the start, it was great to have people like Dennis Canavan involved, and Patrick Harvey, Colin Fox from the SSP. Yes. So we're beginning to build the notion that this was something much bigger than any one political party. Because we knew that the people who are against independence, the parties who are against independence, would try and present the Yes campaign as being just about the SNP. So we knew we had to get people away from that notion, which I think we've done. I think we succeeded in doing that. We knew that most of the mainstream press, commercial press, would be against independence. So the way we had to work around that was by developing that much more sizable, active grassroots campaign. And that's been a tremendous thing, and it's happened in such a great way. And of course, it's grown to such an extent organically, which again was what we hoped and intended. But it's taken on such a life of its own, and there are so many people, so many different new entities and organisations involved in this now, and it's just a fantastic thing. So we knew also that because we wouldn't get fair treatment in the press, that social media would be terribly important. So we put a lot of stress right from the beginning on trying to be much stronger on Facebook and Twitter and other platforms. And we've done that, the official campaign's done that, but so have all the other parts of the broader Yes movement. They've done the same thing, which is to really be active and putting out lots of really good material on social media or on the internet. So these are the ways in which we've got round the inherent problem that we would have had with if we'd just been depending on the press, as it were, to get across our message.
And are you surprised by the level of creativity and diversity that's going on the grassroots front? Because I am constantly going to different places, and we were in Skye a couple of weeks ago. And this big Yes yacht appeared, and then we're at the Yes pub, and people are taking ownership of what they're doing. Are you surprised at the level of that?
I'm delighted. I'm not surprised. I thought it would turn out something like this. But you keep being surprised about what people are doing. I mean, the things people are doing for this campaign. I've met so many folk who've put the rest of their lives on hold. Who've put their businesses on hold, who've taken leave of absence from their jobs, who are just putting everything into this, and that's a fantastic advantage to us. I think it's going to be the real telling advantage in this final stage of the campaign. But the other thing is, I think we have been the fun campaign. We are the fun campaign. I mean, apart from working very hard for a cause that they believe in and for a result they want, people are just really, really enjoying it. I was talking the other week there to a real veteran SNP campaigner who'd been, he's been in SNP, 50, 60 years or something, and he said that he's enjoying this more than any other campaign in his life.
Really?
Because suddenly he's got all these new pals from all sorts of points on the political spectrum, and people he would never have thought he'd been campaigning with. And people are loving the diversity and the energy of it. You're right about the creativity. I think some of the stuff that National Collective does is fantastic. We've just recently had the Yes Because hashtag, which produced some fantastic content. But right around Scotland, I think there are individuals and organisations who've just decided that they're going to go for it. There's a burst of energy, engagement, creativity, and I think in the Yes movement, I think has just been an absolute joy from start to finish.
I mean, I completely agree, because we've been travelling now for nearly 3 weeks, and what gets me the most is it doesn't matter which background you're from, which class you've got, what wealth you've got, how old you are, which gender you are. People are networking and creating a Scottish family, I would describe it as. And I think of the Yes groups and the Yes organisations of all different shapes and sizes, and the individuals have created this kind of fabric about Scotland, something to be proud of. How do we continue that after the Yes vote?
Well, I think that's interesting, and I know people are already thinking about this, and I think I know organisations like Commonweal are thinking about how do you keep this going. I think that's going to be okay, because I'm very confident we're going to win on September 18, and at that point all the energy and positivity of the Yes campaign switches right into, okay, let's start building that better nation that we all want. So I think people will keep up a very high level of engagement. I know local Yes groups who've already decided that they're going to keep going. Now they'll call themselves something else, but because they've all forged these bonds and these friendships, I know that one very good local Yes group who've actually already put a meeting in the diary for November. They're going to give themselves October off. Really? Meetings in the diary for November. How do we take this forward as a community group that's going to work for the development of our community? So I think all that energy that's been harnessed is going to be enormously helpful in the creation of the new Scotland and building the kind of country that we want. And that's great. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, the other exciting things, we're carrying now, I think, 17 different organisations and material, all of which have a good, positive vision for Scotland, which is socially just and fair. Why is the No campaign not harnessed that? Why have they not found a positive voice to put forward? Do you think they've missed a trick, or did they just not take it seriously from the outset?
I don't know. It's a good question, and in a way, that's one of the questions I think that people might ask after the referendum. I think a number of things were true. One was their campaign is based heavily on the three political parties that make up Better Together. So it's very much a political party-based campaign run essentially by politicians, and where the balance of power and the chain of command has to reflect the fact that it's really about three political parties. So, I mean, I've lost count a number of debates and town hall meetings and broadcast discussions I've done in the last couple of years. Every single time I've come up against people from the other side, it's always been a career politician, a full-time politician. And I think that's the difference between the two campaigns. A lot of our leading advocates, I mean, not just me, but I mean lots of the people who are speaking for Yes are not political party people, they're not politicians. And one of the interesting things is back to the point you were making about this wonderful tapestry that the Yes movement is now. What's interesting and it happened in a kind of organic way without anyone controlling it all. Everyone kind of worked out what their role was. and what their particular voice was and what their particular function was within the overall campaign.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we all worked it out without anyone having to meet and hammer it out and say, okay, you do that bit, we'll do this bit. We didn't do that. Everyone kind of just found their space.
It's been totally the incredible part. I mean, I find that we found our own space, obviously, doing this.
Yeah.
And that's what's excited me, probably more than anything, is there's been space for everyone.
Yeah.
Whatever the background, whatever they're doing or not doing at the moment. And we were just speaking a couple of nights ago in Dunoon and just asked people, who's not yet been out canvassing? And of course, people coming forward straight away. So we've got less than 3 weeks left. What's your key message that you would like to give those who are campaigning for yes, and what can they do now if they feel they haven't done enough? What's the key things that are still needing done?
In my first day in this job, I was asked, back in July 2012, somebody asked me, my first day in the job, what's the thing we should do? What can we do right now? And I said then that if everyone who's already intending to vote yes can persuade just one other person, then we win. Because at that point the polls were suggesting, yes vote was only about 27-28% of the poll. Yes. But it was obvious, arithmetically, it was obvious that if everyone who was voting yes could persuade one other person, we were going to win. So I think the key to winning, I thought it then and I believe it now, is conversation. Between now and September 18, there will be millions of conversations around Scotland. Because a lot of people still making up their minds, a lot of people still thinking about it. A lot of people who might be inclining to no, but who are entirely capable of moving to yes. I keep hearing of people who were no and are moving to yes. So it's not just undecided people who are moving to yes, it's people who thought they were going to vote no are moving to yes.
I agree, yeah.
And there's a lot of the no vote is very soft. It's people who haven't really, maybe explored it or thought about it or they had assumptions about Scotland and the Scottish economy. And as you get them into conversation, they move our way. So the top priority is keep talking to people, keep having conversations, particularly with people you know, because that's the people you'll influence most. But the other thing is the old-fashioned stuff. I mean, people talk a lot about the high technology nowadays and running campaigns, political campaigns, referendum campaigns. You cannot beat shoe leather. You cannot beat going down streets, knocking doors and talking to people. And we're doing that much, much more than Better Together. I mean, I've been canvassing in at least a dozen communities around Scotland in the last 5-6 weeks. I always ask on any street, has your street been canvassed by the No campaign? I have yet to be on a street that's been canvassed by the No campaign in any of the places I've been in Scotland. Exactly. So we have more people, we're knocking on more doors, we're having more conversations, we're investing shoe leather, we're investing, people are putting lots of time into this. I know people who are out canvassing for yes every day of the week. Now that level of commitment, we have it, the other side don't. They have a real problem in getting numbers of people to go out canvassing. I know they're doing telephone canvassing, and I'm sure they've got a very nice software program and all that, but they don't have people at a community level doing what we're doing. So if people can keep up that level of energy and enthusiasm and commitment that they've shown for us in the last couple of years, that's what's going to win it for us. More than anything else, that's what's going to win it for us.
Great. And Blair, I'm going to ask you for a piece of advice you might be able to give me. What's the key piece of advice you give me for what we're doing with the Spirit of Independence? Anything we are missing or should be still doing? Or
no, I mean, the Spirit of Independence has been one of the lovely things about the campaign. I mean, you can see here in Dundee today just how much people like coming up and having a look and taking pictures alongside it. And I think it symbolises the fun and the energy and the commitment of the Yes campaign. I mean, I think what you're doing with this is just fantastic, to go around Scotland and be a kind of focal point for the campaign, and to bring people in. And it lets people see what the Yes campaign's all about. You must be like me. You've met so many fantastic people around
Scotland. I'm actually totally humbled by the experience we're having. Yeah, it's incredible, and so much support every place I've been. And when I got involved in a discussion a couple of years ago, it was yes, no, and it really felt quite hostile at times. But I have to say, in the 3 weeks we've been here, I haven't come across any hostility, even from those who say they're voting no. Often we're having a laugh about it a couple of minutes later. So yeah, it's been a very goodwill campaign so far.
It's been great, and this is a fantastic part of it. If the referendum was about energy and enthusiasm and engagement, then we'd have won already. We've already won this campaign. The key now is let's go on and win the referendum.
Great, Blair. A total privilege, so thank you very much.
Great seeing you.
Pleasure.
Dundee crossed the open and right in the Port of Leith. They're going to ask the people, is independence best? I'm thinking bonnie Scotland, but the answer could be yes.